Hello, I'm Nora, and welcome back to Novels with Nora. With the new year brings new goals, new plans, new challenges, and today I'm going to be talking about my reading plans and goals for 2026. My last video was my 2025 wrap-up, reflecting on the goals that I had set for 2025, looking at the statistics of what I was able to read in 2025, and I said in that video that I'm going to take all of that information into account when I set the goals and intentions for my reading in the next year. And so here we are doing exactly that. And I am happy to say that I have quite a few things planned for myself this year. One thing that I actually teased a few times a few videos ago about reading more romance this year, so I'm very excited to share these things. I feel like I've really put a lot of intention into these goals and plans for myself, so I'm very excited to share them, and especially because a lot of these things are things that you're going to see me completing and partaking in throughout the year, and I hope that this kind of inspires you to be very intentional with the goals you set. At the beginning of the year, it's so easy to be like, I'm gonna wake up every day at 6 a.m., I'm hitting the gym, I'm eating healthy, I'm changing all of these drastic things about my life all at once in like the hardest, most depressing time of year, and then it's so easy to fall off of those things because there's no way you can do all of them. So I've really found that like slow, intentional goal setting that like I build up to is really, really wonderful for me. So like, there's like a specific morning routine that I have in my head for myself, but I know that if I try and implement all of these changes all at once, I'm going to fall off immediately. So just doing like step by step, one change, getting used to it, then adding another has been really so wonderful for me. And we're only like 2 weeks into the month and I'm already just feeling so calm and like rooted in myself and in my goals, rather than feeling like we're already 2 months in and I'm so behind already and I haven't done any of these things and I'm letting myself down. And those are not the kind of goals I want to be setting for myself, and I hope that those aren't the kind of goals you're setting for yourself. And like, obviously there's something to be said about like a goal should in some capacity be challenging, but there's also something to be said about like maintenance goals. And like, if you've done something in the past year that's really worked for you, you don't need to change it to like make it harder for yourself or like put more on your plate, especially with everything that's going on in the world. Like right now, everyone's goal should just be to survive and to have compassion and empathy and to care for their neighbors and themselves. So that being said, let's get into my reading goals and plans for 2026. Starting with like a numeric reading goal, I feel like I'm kind of moving away from setting one, but because I track my reading in places like Goodreads and Storygraph, I'm usually going to be setting one. And so last year I set it at 45 and ended up reading 110 books. And so this year I am also going to be setting it at 45. And I feel like that's probably where I'll continue to set it in like years in the future. Even if like in the back of my head I know that I can or want to achieve more, setting it at 45 really just like, that's something that I know I can achieve. And the past several years I have read above and beyond 45 books. So setting it there feels very doable for me and very calm, honestly. And like, if I end up reading more than that, fantastic. And then I don't have to do anything because my goal is already set. But if I feel like we're getting close to the end of the year or like we're halfway through and I'm not quite there yet, I can just move that goal down. That goal doesn't really mean a whole lot to me because I'd rather, really, like, subset of this goal is that like I do not care how many books I'm reading, I just want to be reading quality books, like things that I'm really loving and like taking my time with and spending time with and just like really investing in, rather than like just reading for the sake of like having a really high number at the end of the year, which is totally fine if that's what you do, go for it, queens. But like, I want to read to have like so many 5 stars, find new favorite authors, new favorite books. That is truly my primary goal for this year, is to just love what I'm reading. So that could be literally anything, and that means so many things. It's not really a quantifiable goal really, because like even if I'm not giving something 5 stars, am I still like loving my experience with the reading of it? So this kind of ties into a few of my like reading challenges that I'm participating in, but like we'll get to those. But my next goal is to read 12 nonfiction. I set this goal for myself last year and I didn't quite achieve it, but I know I can. I just need to actually like put forth a little bit more effort. And so this year is the year that I do that. I read 8 nonfiction last year. I only needed 4 more to get there. I can definitely do that this year. I just need to lock in and do it. Okay, then moving into like, those are like my main like reading goals for myself. Like that's really all I'm setting. I'm not really a big goal setter. I like to just like do things. I don't really need to like have a goal set in order to do them, especially with reading. I know I'm gonna read no matter what goals I set for myself, so I feel like I participate more in reading challenges than I do reading goals. So the 12 nonfiction and 45 books, and like reading things that I truly love deeply, those are my goals, and then I have several reading challenges that I'm participating in. So my first reading challenge is Buzzwordathon. This is hosted by Books and Lala here on BookTube and on Bookstagram, and I completed it last year. So last year was the first year of it being title and cover. And so I managed to complete the title and cover prompts for every month, all 12 months, which was 24 prompts, which is very exciting. But Buzzwordathon is like I said, a reading challenge created by Books and Lala, and she kind of compiles this list based on buzzwords that she's seeing in titles and now covers. So she'll, like for the title prompt, it'll be like, ooh, I'm seeing a lot of like after, like the word after in a lot of titles. So 1 month you have to read a book with the word after in the title, so on and so forth for all 12 months. And then the cover prompt is she'll compile a list of things where it's like, she's like, I'm seeing a lot of like decorative borders on book covers. So 1 month you have to read a book with a decorative border. And so those are the prompts. And so I am ready to participate. Now, last year, the way that I participated in this was that I wanted to read the title and cover prompt within their corresponding months for every month all year. But this year, I am going a little bit easier on myself, and I am only really trying to achieve the title prompt. So I'll be working in each month to read a book for the title prompts, and then I am aware of the cover prompts, but I'm not going to like seek things out for them. I think really it's just like when I get to the end of the year, I would like to look back and have at least half of them completed, especially because the whole point of Buzzwordathon is that the prompts are things that are like quite popular in titles and covers. And so I'm curious to see if like without trying, I'm still reaching and like achieving the cover prompts without really seeking things out specifically for those prompts. So I will be putting forth an effort to achieve the title prompts. The cover prompt, if it's one that I'm like really interested in, I might, but for the most part, I'm just gonna kind of see what happens with that one, and I'm not really too focused on the cover prompts. But I will be participating in Buzzwordathon, and I'm really excited to see if I can complete it again this year. Also, this past year, I did a reading vlog for almost every month of Buzzwordathon where I read 2 books, like one for each prompt. I don't think I'll be doing that again unless there's like a book that I'm picking that I really want to talk in depth about. Unless you really enjoyed those vlogs, let me know. But I thought they were fun and I enjoyed doing them, but it also just kind of like made me pick things, like, I don't know. I just kind of want to fit the Buzzwordathon prompts into my regular reading and not seek things out specifically for the prompts, if that makes any sense. So like when I go through the prompts, I want to find books that I'm already interested in that happen to fit the prompts, rather than finding a book that fits the prompt that I then force myself to be interested in. So that is Buzzwordathon and reading challenge number 1 of the year. Next is not so much a reading challenge, but something that I've set for myself for the past several years and have never accomplished, and that is my 20 and 2026. I know a lot of people do like 25 and 2025 and 26 and 2026. If I can't achieve the 20 that I set for myself one year, I feel like adding to that is not very conducive to actually achieving it. So I have made myself a 20 and 2025. Oh my God, 20 and 2026 list, and made myself like a little checkbox here so I can color them in as I'm achieving them. And most of these are books that were on my 20 and 2025 list as well, and that have migrated over, but these are all, for the most part, books that I own and really want to get to, so that I'm still prioritizing reading things that are on my shelves, but also things that have been there for a long time that I do want to get to, and this will just help me prioritize it. Now, I did have this list last year, like I mentioned, and halfway through the year, I forgot that it existed. So another goal, like subset of this, is to remember that I'm doing this and not forget, to then get to like December and be like, oh, I forgot I was doing that. So the 20 books on this list are The Brightness Between Us, He Who Drowned the World, Her Radiant Curse, which are all like sequels or prequels to series that I'm really invested in. I just need to reread something in that series to then get to the next one. The Bone Shard Daughter, The Jasmine Throne, Godly Heathens, Iron Widow, Slewfoot, I Who Have Never Known Men, Men Who Hate Women, Word Slut, The Phoenix Keeper, A Day of Fallen Night, Against White Feminism, Threads That Bind, Big Swiss, Genesis of Misery, Five Broken Blades, Yours for the Taking, and Ripe, which again are all books that I own and are on these shelves, and I just really want to prioritize getting to these things because they've either been on here for a long time, or I know if I don't prioritize them, they're just going to continue to sit for an even longer time. So those are my 20 books. I really hope that I actually achieve it this year, but I made it look really nice. Like I really focused in to get my handwriting good for this. So I am hopeful, and I put it in a spot in this notebook that like I feel like I'll look at quite frequently. So I am hopeful. I am positive. I am moving into this challenge with positive attitudes. So we'll see how this ends up going. But like I said, these are all things that are on my shelf that I own because I want to read. So good vibes for this one, but you know, we'll see, because I've had good vibes every year in the past and then managed to completely forget about it somehow. So we shall see. And now another thing kind of similarly that I mentioned in my 2025 wrap-up video was the alphabet reading challenge. To me, I'm not treating it so much like a challenge so much as I just want to track what books fit with the title of the alphabet, because last year when I did this, there were only 4 letters that I missed: J, Q, X and Z. And I'm curious to see if it ends up being the same 4 letters that I'm missing this year or different letters or like what's going on there. So this isn't something that like I'm going to pick up books specifically because they fit that letter, but I am curious in tracking that and seeing if it's the same letters that I'm missing repeatedly, and then seeing, it's usually towards the end of the alphabet because like there's not a whole lot of words that start with Z that are like the book title. So like Strike the Zither has a Z in it, but you wouldn't categorize that as a Z because it starts with an S. You see what I'm saying? So we'll just see how this goes. Like I said, I'm not really counting it as like a reading challenge so much as just something that I'm curious to track, but I am tracking it. Now, another actual reading challenge that I'm participating in, which actually started last year and I think goes through April of this year, is the r/fantasy book bingo reading challenge. And this one is really in depth, and I have a whole video on my channel going over the entire reading challenge and like my picks for each prompt because there's quite a few of them. And so like I said, this one started last year and just goes through April of this year, and I plan on continuing because I am 58% completed with this challenge. And so I do plan on continuing and reading. This is one though where the ones that I have completed are the ones that like the things I'm picking up just like for myself are completing the prompts, and the prompts that are left I'm having to read specifically for. So curious to see if I end up really enjoying something from that, which is why I like participating in reading challenges where I enjoy the prompts, because it's making me step outside of my comfort zone and maybe introducing me to new books, where there's some reading challenges where I feel like these prompts aren't really speaking to me. I know I'm going to be reading and just like picking things up for this challenge and not because I am interested in the book, which is not the case with any of the reading challenges I am participating in, because they all kind of let you pick and choose what it is you want to be doing and are very like loose in how you have to fill each prompt, because like r/fantasy, they have like a hard mode and like a regular mode. So if you get it like super easily and it's like a prompt or something like a genre or whatever that you're really into, it might be easier for you to do the hard mode, but you don't have to do hard mode on all of them, which I really like. I just really like when reading challenges and the creator of the challenges gives a lot of leeway and understanding for readers. So I will be continuing on with r/fantasy. Like I said, I have a whole video going over every single prompt and every book that I'm interested in reading for every prompt, so you can check that out if you want more information. But the final 2 reading challenges are the biggest and are all year long, and are things that I am a little nervous to be embarking on, but I'm also very excited for. So starting with the one that I have teased, I believe it was my holiday romance reading vlog, where I talked about not really knowing a whole lot of what I'm into in romance because I don't read a whole lot of it, but when I pick it up, I usually have fun with it. So I stumbled across the Romanceopoly reading challenge that's a whole year long. I don't quite remember who it's hosted by, but I'll link everything down below for all of these challenges. And this reading challenge is mainly for like current romance readers, but I'm using it as a way to get me into romance and become a romance reader maybe, and really just like help me like expose myself to different genres of romance, or I guess they would be subgenres of romance, and like different tropes and things, so that I can find what I like in romance, so that I know what to pick up. Because right now I'm just picking things up. I'm like, oh, that's sapphic. Oh, that sounds fun. And then I'm not really enjoying them because I don't know what I like in romance. So I'm using Romanceopoly as a tool to help me discover what I like in the romance genre, which I'm very excited about because like I said, when I am reading it, I am having fun. I just don't really know what I like. I am starting to find out that I don't think I love fake dating, but I also just don't know if it's just like I'm not reading like the good ones, you know? So if you have any romance recommendations, I would love to hear them. But I'm also thinking that I might make a whole separate video for Romanceopoly, because the way this reading challenge is set up, it's like courses at college. So there's 4 core courses, which are like 4 core prompts. So those ones everyone has to complete, which is an author you've never read before, a book that made or will make you cry or emotionally spiral, a genre that you don't typically read, a popular or trending romance, and then a book that features classic romance tropes. So those are like the core courses, which are respectively titled Registrar's Office, Crying Room, Compass Wing, The Commons, and Romance Hall, which I think is just so cutie. And I love how this is set up. So then from there, there's a whole bunch of different like departments that you can choose from. So you choose your major and your minor and your electives. So my major, I picked romantic arts, which is like the contemporary romance category. And then there's prompts within each of those that you then pick books for. So that's my major, because I think that contemporary romance is going to be the most for me, I think, but I made my minor paranormal studies to read paranormal romances, because the ones that I've read, specifically like shifter romances, I really like, because if they're gonna be straight romance, I need that man to be like down bad for that woman. Like I truly need him to be like groveling, begging, like truly just like desperate for her. And I find that in shifter romances, especially with like the fated mates thing, usually they're like super like into her, and like that's what I need if it's gonna be a straight romance. And I really enjoy paranormal stuff. Like, I love werewolves. I really just like the different creatures that can be in there, and I think it's really fun. And for me, reading romance is going to be fun. I really enjoy it. I have fun with it, and so I want to continue to have fun with it. Even though I'm doing this like quite in-depth reading challenge, I still want to continue to have fun. So my minor is paranormal studies, and then for my electives, I picked ones in the two from the dark romance department, two from the fantasy romance department, and one from the historical department. So I do think that I'll be making a separate video all about this because there's a lot to go over, and I have 2, if not 3 book recommendations or like things that I'm interested in for each prompt or course. So I'm very interested in seeing how this goes. I might end up stopping this halfway through the year if I'm finding that like I'm reading a lot of romance and like nothing is doing it for me, then maybe just romance isn't for me. And that's still, Romanceopoly still would have done for me what I was hoping it would, which is helping me decide if I don't like romance because I'm not finding the ones that I like are for me, or if I don't like romance because I just don't like it, which is also totally valid. But I feel like I've never really given it a good enough shot. And like I have read some really great romances, so I'm really hoping that this helps me figure out what it is that I like, so that when I do want to pick up romance, I know exactly what to look for. So that is my goal with this. My goal necessarily, like I would love to complete it. Like I am a completionist. I think that would be so fantastic. But really my main goal with this and the desired outcome is to just figure out what I like in romance. So that is Romanceopoly. And then the final, yes, there is one more reading challenge that I am participating in this year is the Anti-Brain Rot Reading Challenge hosted by Janine at This Story Ain't Over. And this reading challenge is really very in line with my goal for the year, which is like more slow, in-depth, meaningful reading. So this reading challenge has like 3 main category areas with like 3 rules in each one. These aren't all like prompts. Like for example, the first category is consistency, and the rules in that category are read for at least 45 minutes every day and annotate, read at least 1 article or essay per month on a topic of interest, and read at least 1 book by a BIPOC author for every book by a white author you read. So this is really more about like diversifying what you're reading and just like engaging deeper with what you're reading. So I do not think that I'll have any issues with that section. Potentially the like 50-50 BIPOC white author, just because the books that I'm reading, I feel like white authors are just so much more prevalent. And it's not to say that like authors of color don't exist, obviously, but their books often don't get like the same marketing push as white authors get. And this one I feel like is going to just involve a little bit more work that is completely worth it, and I will be doing, because I think it's really important to be reading diversely, especially if I hope to be a teen librarian in a diverse community, because every community is diverse. I need to be able to recommend things that the people I'm recommending it to will see themselves in. So I really am very happy with these. I do not think any of these will be a problem. Like the article and essay one, I could see why some people would have a problem with it, but being in grad school, we get a lot of articles and essays like assigned to us, but then also there's a lot of like optional, and like if there's one that's interesting, I can just pick that. So like I have these at my fingertips right now. So do not think I'll have a problem with any of those. And if I do start to struggle, like the read for 45 minutes every day and annotate, this one, like I'm reading right now and I'm not annotating in the book. I have like an annotation journal that I'm using. So like there's just ways to adapt all of these things to make them work for my current life. And we'll touch on this again later. But then category number 2 is mindful consumption. The first rule is to read at least 1 book from each genre: lit fic, historical fiction, fantasy, sci-fi, horror, romance or thriller, classic, history/politics, science, or a memoir or biography, which again, I do not think I will have any problem with. I read a very wide range of genres as it is, so I really do not expect to have any issues with that. Rule number 2 for this category: read at least 1 book from each format: a play or poetry collection, a graphic novel, an anthology or short story collection, and a translated book, which again, I do not think I'll have any problem with. The only one that I think I'll struggle with is the poem or play, because I do not really like poetry and I've never read a play. But again, this is all about like really diversifying what you're reading and how you're reading. So I'm very interested to see what I end up doing for that. And then the final rule from this one is read at least 1 book in each category. So these categories are more about like the author and the representation of the books. So we have a queer main character, disability representation, a non-North American author, a living Black author, an Indigenous author, a SWANA author, a Latinx author, a non-Chinese, Japanese, or Korean, East or Southeast Asian author, and a non-Indian South Asian author. So just lots of like very specific rules in here, but I'm very excited for these. I really like reading, especially fantasy, that are inspired by the author's culture. So this one I think is just gonna be really fun for me to find things from these author demographics that I'm really excited to read. And then the final category is critical engagement. And this one is the one where I feel like I'm going to do the most tweaking to make it work for me. So rule number 1 is to create your own critical media journal where you write down notes or reviews of each book, article, or essay you read, and to distill your own thoughts before you see other people's opinions. And I am really excited about this. I did buy a notebook for this. I'm very excited about it. I am truly excited about this undertaking. And then rule number 2 here is to create your own personal curriculum, read 2 books for each curricula, and use your library for research. Now, this one I think I'm just going to completely remove for myself because I'm in grad school, and what I'm doing in grad school is like what I would want to do for personal curriculum anyway. So this, to me, instead of like creating a whole personal curriculum, what I think I'm gonna do instead is just like if a professor gives us optional readings for a class that I'm really enjoying, I will make sure that I'm reading those optional readings. So that is how I'm adapting this one for myself, because I do not need to create a personal curriculum on top of grad school. And then finally is do a buddy read or join a book club and discuss at least one book with others. And I'm really excited about that. The Anti-Brain Rot Reading Challenge is a Discord where there is like a book club attached to it, so there's that option. And then libraries have a whole bunch of book clubs, bookstores have book clubs, so there's a lot of ways to go about doing that I'm very excited about. I'm even thinking of doing a book club with like my friends or like my brother. Like there's a lot of ways that I can go about that. I don't have like a solid plan just yet, but there are lots of options. And with that, those are all of the reading challenges and goals that I have set myself for 2026. And a lot of these are like a little bit more challenging, but that's why they're called reading challenges. And so I will do like check-in vlogs and like updates to see how I'm doing like throughout the year, especially with like Romanceopoly. I'll probably like have like dedicated vlogs for that. I don't know that I'll do that for the Anti-Brain Rot Reading Challenge, because that one I feel like is going to be very personal for me, and it's just going to be very much like me engaging with my own thoughts about the books. So I don't know that I'll do any vlogs on that, but I will link every like announcement video and like every video from the creators of these challenges going more in depth with these things, so you can like learn more about them yourself and probably get them explained better than I did. But I would love to know what your reading goals and challenges are, or like reading aspirations for 2026. I know that, like I said, setting goals is like such a hot topic at the beginning of the year. It really gets pushed on us to set goals to like completely change our lives. I'm like, that's not what I want to do. I want to better the life that I already have. So that is what all of these goals and challenges are attempting to do. So like I said, I would love to know what your goals and challenges are for reading or just in life for 2026. But other than that, I hope you like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in another video again soon. Bye.